And welcome to the show. This is the Weekly Jargon. I am Jose Rodriguez.
And Rohi Zachariah.
And today, Rohi, we're going to talk about the world of entertainment and how that's a distraction sometimes to society. But before we do that, I thought it'd be great to at least update on some of the local events that are taking place. Now, you did mention this morning that there was an article regarding funding for the unhoused.
Yeah, it looks like Madera was been awarded $25 million to help combat the homelessness. So it doesn't get into the specifics of how it may be divvied out, but it is good to see the state kind of finally recognizing we have an issue and they're throwing
now, was
money
that
at
specifically for Madera or Madera
Fresno? It's in Madera and Fresno, so I don't know if it's a split or if it's 25 for each.
Yeah.
But
being that we're the smaller county, I wonder how that's divvied up. So we'll wait to see how that works out.
Yeah.
But in the world of the unhoused, do you see, obviously when we're out there, we are seeing this become a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, some may want to call it a problem, but others may look at it like, something's happening where more and more people are becoming unhoused.
Yeah, and I think with Madera, Madera has done a lot better than Fresno and maybe some of these other cities as far as I would call it maybe acceptance. I think with Fresno, especially because it became so much of an accepted activity that you would see a lot more homelessness on the streets and in pretty much anywhere you would go in public. And that allowed for the giant encampments that started popping up in these little mini cities of homelessness. And it makes it harder now, obviously, for them to kind of clean a lot of that up, where I think Madera did well about the enforcement and kind of corralling them into more centralized areas that were out of maybe the public's view, but also easier to maintain as far as where they're going and what they're doing. So that I would say that, yes, the city of Madera has done well. The issue is that what we ran into, especially the last couple of months, is as bigger cities like San Francisco and LA did their cleanups, all that meant was putting them on buses and unfortunately shipping them to the valley.
Wow. And that's unfortunate because, alongside the 99, especially along these bigger cities, you do see, and even in the metro, more of the downtown areas, you see a lot of this unhoused. But I mean, that's an update. We'll see how that plays out here.
Correct.
Obviously, there's still some legislation that needs to take place. I know that with Governor Newsom's initiative tackling on the unhoused or certain encampments, we'll see how these cities really go about using the legislative process to try to solve that issue. But today's topic, we're talking about entertainment and how much of that is a distraction, and I'll start off, obviously for those Yankee fans and those Dodger fans, it looks like the Dodgers did not sweep the World Series, but it looks like that'll carry on to Game 5, and we hope that maybe at that point the Dodgers will win. But see, even that in itself becomes such a big entertainment for a lot of folks. Millions and millions of people look forward to watching the World Series, especially between these two teams. One out of the East Coast, the New York Yankees, and then the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, what two bigger metros that draw the biggest population to see the World Series? And it's such a big event that it's obviously aired over many different types of media streams, whether it's live stream, radio, I mean, even just following it live on your phone. People are tuned to that. And sometimes that's between 4 to 5 hours of, it could go even further.
Yeah.
But again, that's the entertainment that I think we've been used to. You see that also on Sundays. You see that on Saturdays with football. And this is nothing against really anyone that loves watching it.
Sure.
I think we're all... we all love a little bit of entertainment. We all love to get ourselves distracted from the everyday life routine that we have. And what other better way than getting ourselves caught up in these games and almost in Roman times, right? When you'd come to the Colosseum to see these gladiators take fight. So if you're watching us for the first time and you're paying attention to this podcast, why don't you feel free to chime in, tell us what you think about the entertainment industry today. Is it a big distraction? Is it something that's good for us? We're just trying to give our opinions on where we're at, but feel free to chime in. Rohi, what's your take on that?
Yeah, you know what's hard is that, I know we were talking about like the idea of is it staged, with especially some of these sporting events, and it's tough now because I mean for years, I mean even when we talk about even local sports, you had like Fresno State was caught shaving points, for Vegas, and you get to that point where you realize, imagine the Super Bowl and it's a blowout and it's boring, people shut off their TV because it's over. They can't have that, so you kind of wonder. To some degree, do coaches get encouraged? Hey, you guys are winning enough. Back off a little bit. Let them score a few extra ones to make it exciting. Is it far fetched? I don't know. I mean, it kind of seems like that a lot of times, where it's like you get these Cinderella stories and these great turnarounds that you just can't leave. You have to stick around for. So I that's why sports for me it can be a bit tough. I mean, boxing has been notorious for that, right? I mean. That's been their plague, is that the fights were already fixed. They already knew the winner. It's almost like WWE, and it kind of takes away from, when you kind of think about that, it takes away from the sport, but people still watch. People still go to these, these wrestling matches knowing that it's all fake, so it kind of goes back to, like you were saying, are we just caring because it's entertainment? Are we just wanting to be entertained, or do we really care about there being a true winner and a true loser,
Are you not entertained, said Russell Crowe in The Gladiator, right? Are you not entertained?
Yeah.
So.
And that's actually probably a really, the best point that you would say is because, those games were really to be a distraction to the people. Because if you were, a leader and you just told your people you're going to grind 7 days a week and no fun, they're going to turn over at some point and you're going to be dead, and these games were a chance for the people to kind of say, hey, look, you get a break, go enjoy, get drunk, have all the food you want, get them happy again, and go throw them back out basically to be slaves again, And so it kind of to some degree plays into that. Like if we had no entertainment and we were just sitting around grumbling about our problems all day, I think things would be a lot different.
Yeah, and in modern day entertainment, I think, would you then relate that to the same thing that took place back in the Roman days? I think when the crowd or the mob was getting a little unrest, there was unrest in the mob, then obviously the emperors would throw some grain and bread and obviously provide the entertainment. And today's day, obviously, like you said, in wrestling, I think everybody knows that's been scripted. But again, and I think there was a interview that came about, and I'm not sure if it was Vince McMahon or someone within there, that people knew that this was out there as a scripted sport, right?
Yeah.
But there is a term that they called, and I can't recall the term that people, even though they know it's scripted, they really draw into the entertainment.
It's like watching
portion
a movie.
Of it. It's like and no different than a movie. We know they're actors.
Yeah.
But we can't help but put ourselves in those situations, right? Whether it's a drama, suspense, or even an action thriller, we are like right in the front, smack front, in the middle of all the action that's taking place, and it for some reason it does something to our endorphins, right? We get all psyched up, and we want to be part of that. So I noticed that as we see not only in the arena of sports, this becomes very, very big for us. And I'll tell you something. You mentioned something earlier regarding the Super Bowl, right? And if you recall, the 49ers had played the Baltimore Ravens on the Super Bowl years back, and it was mainly a blowout. But suddenly something happened. I think the lights went out, right? And if you recall, that halftime took a little longer because something went out, right? I mean, this is the biggest event in pretty much in the nation throughout the year, but it's a blowout. I mean, we're having to say, let's just walk away from this. We want to get away, unglue ourselves from the TV because there was such a big disappointment. Soon after the halftime, though, it's becoming very evident that, hey, the 49ers are coming back. This is a game. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, this is my opinion, is that if I am the investors on the other end and I'm trying to gain a lot more marketing time and I want people to continue to watch this, then I need to make sure they're stuck on that TV
Exactly.
at least for a bit longer, right?
Yeah.
Because I was ready to give up. It was a blowout. 49ers, just no way they were going to come back.
Yeah.
And somehow lights go out, and then we're back. And it happens often where you see, slowly teams coming back, and it gives us that sense of, hey, here's the underdog once again coming back. And it just something inside of us that's been conditioned for us to believe that there may be a Cinderella type of experience here. And we're always hoping for that. It happens and it's an anomaly. It happens, but it's very, very seldom that you see that happen. And I think for us, we're always captivated by those little storylines, right, that they have in the sports arena. The one thing I can say about sports, though, is that I think that turned me off early on was the fact that there's actually referees. The fact that there's referees dictating how the game moves forward, right? I mean, obviously, football is a very highly contacted sport, physical contact. So at every single snap of that ball, there's going to be contact. It's just whether or not it was enough for you to throw out the flag or not. And sometimes, that's what frustrates me the most is why don't you just let them play?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. I mean, there's a lot of money involved in that, huge amounts of money, whether it's your bookie or Vegas or wherever you're doing it. There's a lots of money that people are betting on. And I mean, one thing I've learned early on is a house never loses, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and in football, I mean, I like watching it. It is interesting, when they have to go to watch reviews and the angles they can get now and stuff. But you have all that sophistication, and what always drives me nuts is ball position. When they're down, the ref within, I mean, it's maybe like a foot or two, but they can just grab the ball and, I don't think it was here, it was here. Really? Like, I saw the ball here. How did you decide it was over here? And then we go to the chain. Like, we still bring out this old chain to figure out, you were like 3 inches too short. Really?
I mean, at the end of the day,
can't the ball track itself to know, you call the down and here it is, and there's like 20 different angles to know it was exactly 27.5 yards? I mean,
you would think that in the this world of digital technology, we'd have something a lot better than chains, right? But again, I mean, there's something about those chains that keeps the tradition of football.
It's the entertainment part.
It's just entertainment. It's entertainment, right? And I think the same applies to even our media today. You look at a lot of the, especially now that we're in election day. I mean, you see it like I'm being profiled like every other commercial that's coming out, or if I hit my Pandora box, it's like, hey, you got to take care of this person, blah, 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 vote for this person. Yeah. Whether it's the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, there's millions and millions of dollars being just channeled into these media outlets for them to tell us how we should, consider voting. This person over here is a bad person. It's a bad person. You don't want to vote for them. And this other person and then on the other side, this person's bad. So I mean, you're left with, well, do I choose the worst? Who do I choose? I mean, it's really difficult. But again, that's part of I think this entertainment industry of whoever controls those outlets obviously has a lot of control on how they can condition the opinions of folks.
And entertainment's tough, especially when you get into the music industry. It's or even just music and Hollywood in general. I mean, you talk to a kid nowadays, and obviously the number one job I think we talked about before, they want to be a vlogger. They want to have a YouTube channel. They want to be famous in that regard, but they don't understand at some point when you jump to a certain point, you become owned by somebody, and typically there's you got Pepsi and Coke is one of the biggest things that people don't realize. They own the majority of celebrities. They control what you say. They control what you do, what you sing, everything. Because like you said, they have the power of influence. You look at Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift is one of these super megastar people, but who's taken possession over the Democratic Party. She's a very strong supporter of the left. So they want to make sure that she caters to them and that she's at their rallies, that her songs are being used. Goes along with that is your football. Football is unfortunately very left-leaning. They were the ones that they don't take a kneel to the flag anymore. We stand, and it's kind of pushing that same agenda. But who's also behind the Super Bowl? Pepsi. one of your biggest supporters and one of your biggest financial influencers.
I thought it was Bud Light.
Well,
After
Bud
that,
Light, look at where they're at, So it's difficult because I think when people think about entertainment and what they want out of it, it's always about they want to be famous, they want to be rich, and then they think that by being those two things, you get to do whatever you want. And they don't realize that once you cross that barrier, you actually don't get to do whatever you want. You don't get to say what you want, especially because they know as soon as you go on camera, you are representing everybody that is making you famous and making you rich. And the minute you turn your back on that and you don't follow that, that's where you end up like Diddy and you're dead or you're cut out,
And that's a good point. I think, when you look at these celebrities that come up and make it big, we don't really go back to the initial drive of why they were there and how they got there, right? Or the initial steps of how they made it to Hollywood, right? A lot of the times you go back and you listen to the Hollywood stories and, hey, I came from a certain town, very remote. I made my way to Hollywood. I was bussing tables and I got noticed. Well, you got noticed, but they gave you a contract as well. Whether it's in music or whether it's in the movie industry, you got hired and here was your contract. Your contract, again, saying you're going to entertain. This is a contract. Do you own any of your pieces? Probably not, because there's a lot of producers, a lot of investors that typically own that part of the business, and that's how they make their profits. That's how they're able to deliver these movies, $1 million budgets that they're able to put out. So as a actor, entertainer, I mean, yes, you are part of it. Yes, you're the lead actor, but you're not the owner.
Yeah.
So right, and Prince talked about this a lot. That typically, when you don't own your masters of the music that you create, then you're pretty much serving a master. And I think that was his words. And quote me if I'm that's the quote that I remember. If I'm incorrect, please make sure you correct me there. But that's what he said. He said, "Look, I don't own my masters.
Yeah.
So my masters own me." Right, and what he was trying to say is that all the music that I write, everything that I write, isn't really free to me because I don't own them. And that's the unfortunate thing. For every time you play that music, or for every time you do something with that music, then obviously there's royalties that are paid to somebody else. So for an actor or a musician to think that they own their own music, and there may be some out there, I don't know that, but I mean, especially in the bigger world of entertainment, when it comes to labels. Well, that's not the case. And obviously, we're starting to see this thing with Diddy unravel. And it's unfortunate because, we don't know where he got his beginnings up. We don't know if he had that contract that he signed. And they say you sign it with the devil, right? That's what you hear all the time.
You do, yeah.
But once you do that, I mean, what does that mean? I mean, here I am. I give myself a lifestyle of riches and fame, popularity. But somehow when you reach a certain age, I don't know, for some reason, you're no longer a very popular, appealing figure. So therefore, let's start unraveling what's really behind the artist or the fame. Yeah. And before you know it, I mean, here you are. I mean, I can name different artists where things are just happening. Michael Jackson was another person that was very popular throughout his early career, and as he starts getting older, people start seeing him more like a weirdo. And a weirdo that may have a lot of money and may have some words that probably clash against the industry.
Yeah.
And before you know it, Michael Jackson is Gone.
Yeah.
Prince is gone. I mean, you see it with over and over and over. I mean, it's not new. It just, I think there's a code in Hollywood, and I think you have to be careful of who you cross, because if you push that over, then obviously, your career may just go downhill.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing is, like, when you think about, like, obviously currently with the Diddy thing, you can't tell me that all these years they didn't know that was going on with him. Like, all these years, all the things he was involved in, they didn't. That just today, they all of a sudden decided, all right, today's the day we're gonna finally go in. Same thing with Epstein. It was like, wait a minute, all these people are visiting him, but today something changed to where we have to do something about it. And it just makes you cautious. I mean, you're kind of, like you said, it's like, what happened? What were they gonna say, or what were they gonna do, or what was the big thing that the people at the top making the decision said, okay, cut him off. I don't know. Years ago, you had Jennifer Lawrence. She came out. She's one of the, if you know Jennifer Lawrence.
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
But she came out and
Silver lining.
yeah, she came out and was exposing how the selection process for the movies, how it was embarrassing. She had to stand nude in front of basically the director and the producer, and they looked at their a lineup of girls and decided, okay, we're gonna pick this person for whatever reason, and that's how the selection process went to finding their actors. And obviously after doing that, now she crossed the line, and she was basically kind of kicked out of some of these bigger movies because you're making Hollywood look bad. You're taking the secret out of the process. And I don't think it was too big of a secret. I think most people assumed that unfortunately people have to do things that they don't want to get those positions, but she was one of the big vocal ones that actually come out and talk about it. So
yeah, and going back to this Diddy deal is like, if you notice how much distraction this has caused for the people to talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about it here, right? But the distraction that it's caused, like the hype, this is the latest events. I think it's important for you to here you go. Let's start meddling with this. Give me your opinions, whatever you want. But truthfully, I feel like that's a cover up of what other bigger stories that are taking place, right? And you start seeing it right now. The environments of what you see in today's economy, the environments that are taking place in the world and the geopolitical world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much going on that it's not really important for us to know that. So instead, I'll give you a Diddy story. I'll give you what's her name, Taylor Swift story, or I'll give you something, or even, hey, here's the World Series. Don't worry about what's going on over here. I mean, for now, you don't have to worry about it because you live in America where it's protected, but it's not protected. There's a lot of stuff that's taking place with our economy that has influences outside of the nation, right? Because we're everywhere. We're a global. We're global trade. So all those things affect us here economically, and they affect us with inflation. And people don't seem to realize that because obviously we're being entertained.
Yeah.
And we're being entertained, and again, the curtain is closed so that we're not seeing behind the curtain. But if you look at the other side, I mean, I don't know that we have access to other news other than what you probably see in TikTok, or if you see in that. We don't know if those videos are even, censored or not. But I mean, there's more outside of this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point that I'm trying to drive today, is that entertainment, obviously it's good. It makes us feel good. It keeps us away from, like you said, knowing that I have this job, this routine that I do constantly. And I'm having to do that every single day. So give me a break where I can just say, you know what, let me just get away from this. Give me something that can get me away from all this temporarily, so that it's like a drug almost, so to speak, that I can get away from, and then come back to reality when I'm ready, right? And that's unfortunate because there is a lot of current events that are taking place now. Obviously, no one's really, there is small talk about it, but nobody really, you see the demonstrations that are out there, but that's not big. It's not big enough to make the headline news, not like the World Series. Oh, not at all. There's a lot of protests going on. That's not going to make the local news because it's not important. It's not to the it's not convenient for the industry to have you look at that and get distracted. And maybe you may be saying, well, maybe I need to think about it. Maybe you start rationally thinking about something now and saying, maybe something is wrong here.
Yeah.
We're feeling it. There's something wrong the way things are going. Hey, we're paying $15 for a burger now. I don't know if you just start considering that being something.
Well, it's a consolidation of thought, and what that means is that the more distraction we can put, and the more different things we can put in front of people, the more divided we can make their thoughts. Just like you said with baseball, you split the country now. Okay, either for the Yankees or for the Dodgers. So everything they can put in front of us. The wars with Russia and Ukraine, the wars with Israel and the rest of the countries there. These are just dividing things that if you get a group of people together, we're always going to have something that we are in disagreement for, and therefore we can't come together for a common issue, So when you say, okay, we're mad about the $15 hamburger I just paid. Yeah, but I'm going to get a pay raise over here to $20 an hour, so I'm okay with that. Okay, well, now we have our divide. Instead of coming together and saying, look, this is wrong, we need to fix this, there's bigger issues. It's just it's there to distract you from that.
Yeah, and you see that among the parties, the bigger parties here, it's the same deal, right? I mean, if you could find common interest of what these two parties have, which is, I mean, you have people before you, you have human beings before you. How do you bring these together to find common interests where, hey, this is where we meet and align? Why don't we use that as a force to drive forward instead of all the differences that we see, right? Whether it's religion, whether it's, and I can go on. I mean, this is not, I'm not trying to get political, but I mean, you can find just about anything that you can utilize as a weapon against the other party or the other line so that you're divided. And as long as there's a division there, I think it's harder for folks to really try to find a common interest that can drive certain goals or drive certain intentions to better ourselves, right? And there's going to be a mix of opinions out there on what works and what doesn't. But certainly this is not the show where we're giving you the direction. It's more about our opinions, right? We're starting to share with you what we see. We're entertaining people, exactly. And we're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing, but we're trying to entertain you with opinions that actually have impact. Well, we hope they have impact. But again, if you're watching us, feel free to chime in, make your comments. We'd love to hear from you on what you think in today's world of entertainment. Has it caused any issues around your family, or even looking at Facebook, looking at TikTok through your mobile phone? Because that's where most of the entertainment is. We gravitate to that so much that's where we get our news today, right? We get our stock readings, we get our current events, we get our latest updates from Facebook, latest updates on what's going on with the community. And again, if there's something huge of interest, I'm sure we'll find it. It'll pop up right in front of us and tell us something's going on.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously those algorithms know what you like. I'm not going to see the same stories you are, or the same way it's written. I think I was telling people, like, on my phone there was 2 articles. One was talking about the increase in inflation and the decrease in inflation in the same sentence. It's like one story was good and one story was saying bad, and you sit there as a reader, you're saying, well, which one is it? Well, obviously they put out both stories now, and they see which one picks up. And okay, you want to see, Jose wants to see that inflation is going up. Maybe it's good for him, so you're going to get that story. And I want to hear that it's going down, so I'm going to get that story.
No, I certainly get that through YouTube. As I'm looking through economic data or something, you'll start seeing the profiles coming in.
Yeah.
Doom and gloom, or hey, what's going on? And then I switch it around. I go, well, let's see the positive of it, and then it starts changing and shifting. Yeah. So it's funny. I mean, the more they build a profile, I think the more they can advertise to you, because YouTube isn't free unless you pay for the subscription. But they'll certainly push certain ads in there that they may think that interest you, right?
Yeah.
But anyhow, this is our topic today. We're absent Abel, of course, and we hope to see him here next week. I know he's out there campaigning. Election day is next week, so if you haven't voted yet, get out there and vote for whoever you think is the better candidate for yourself, or measures out there. Feel free to get out there and vote. Don't forget, I mean, your vote means a lot. I know a lot of people think that, hey, my vote doesn't matter. It does matter. So get out there. This is the way that we can be active in our civil duty of saying, hey, I don't stand for this, or I do stand for this. And that's a good opportunity for you guys to show that. So again, Election Day is next Tuesday. Yeah. So send in your ballots. If you haven't, get out there and walk them in, or the Election Day. I think they're open until about 8:30.
Yeah, the county building is already getting their machine set up today, so they should be ready to go to start doing the in-person voting here. I've told people, I mean, obviously the people coming in, obviously politics run the talk, and tell them either vote or don't complain, and you're hearing a lot more people that typically don't vote. I think, again, this is going to be a turnout year, and especially in local politics. I mean, people don't win here in Madera elections by hundreds of thousands of votes. It's like 1,000, there's not very many people that actually cast their votes for local politics. So I think so much so here locally, your vote counts even more,
Yeah. And I think you actually get to see in your nonpartisan local elections, you actually get to see how democracy works. Obviously with the electoral vote and other initiatives, it's a little bit different. with certain votes. But here, actually, the person with the higher vote actually wins, right? So, and also the measures, right? If you're required to pass a measure and you want the vote of the public, it's not your representatives making the votes. It's actually you making a decision whether or not you want to impose a bond, you want to impose a special tax.
Yeah.
So you have the power to make that decision. I mean, a lot of people may have issues with the national politics that was taking place, but remember here locally, a lot of it is nonpartisan. I think the community is trying to come together to find out what's in the best interest of the whole, and that's where you make an impact on these local initiatives. So take advantage of that. You know, you have control. Your vote does matter. So if you haven't, get out there and vote. Rohi, I think next Wednesday we'll have a special special show on the election results or where they're at. We hope that we have, at least have a clear understanding of who may have won the election, or
hopefully we'll have electricity. The riots won't have started.
But one thing I will tell you that you will be entertained, and we will continue to do our show regardless of what party. See, and that's the thing, people. I think the way I see it, I've been through many elections now. I'm 49 years old, so I think I've been through many elections. And one thing that I can tell you is that I still get up the next morning. I still put on my pants the same way, and I still go on to work. Now, what happens with the economy and what have you, I think things are going to change. They may change. I mean, policies always are. There's certain initiatives, but at the end of the day, I still wake up, drinking my coffee, moving forward, and that's what we can do is just push forward. Don't let that entertainment take you away from the important things of life.
Correct.
So with that, we'll leave you with that. I don't know if you want to end with anything there, Rohi.
No, good to go.
All right. So again, thank you for watching.